And as soon as we give concession, a pact is being created. You cannot have, I'm a little bit divine, but 70% of still, something, don't know what it is. Okay, I'm 40% divine. I'm 40% awareness, right? Still have to work on 60%. Okay, 50-50. How's that? 50-50 and we go home, right? So I can sleep fine. I can sleep in my own bed with my own story. Because the story completely eclipsed this like donkey stuff. This is why when people awaken, they roar. And I mean it, roar. There's a roar coming out of the chest. I roar myself. I've heard people roaring. It's this roar comes out of you, primordial, primal roar of consciousness. Because you've been made to behave like as a donkey. I've been made to behave as a donkey. No, I'm not a donkey. I've never been one. How did all this came about? Why? You see, I don't see one donkey here. That's the paradox. I don't see one single donkey here. None. This is the amazing thing. All I can see is consciousness, my own consciousness, stares at me with varying degree of clarity and confusion. I look at myself and wonder. What an ordeal. Who brought up this calamity? And it's handy. You see, it's been always handy. Who said that? Osho said that, right? Something like that. That by hook or by crook, don't whatever the structure is, have to keep you as a donkey, have to keep you as the whatever, chained to that, to that cave. Because the awakened being is not a being of this or that country, not a being of this or that flag, of this or that supermarket consuming shit that they produce to, You cannot box an awakened being. It's law into itself, because it's the natural law. That's the core of this whole thing. You have to understand that this was perpetuated for centuries. For centuries perpetuated. So I'm giving myself now a little concession, so that you also understand that this was perpetuated. Those who knew better did everything possible to keep that knowledge away. But no longer, it cannot be kept away. How can that be kept away? This is why, not tomorrow, but now, right now, recognize that there is this, that this, who I am, is the core of my identity. And go to sleep when you go into your own bed, freer, happier. Because nothing can happen to you, because nothing ever did. Why all this ordeal? Why making this ordeal out of life? When life is here to enjoy. Of course, we can talk about the instrumentality, we can, and we will. We can talk about all these subtleties, and the way and how that consciousness fragments, and and what is that energy, and and various degrees of density, and how, how to separate healthy ego from unhealthy. We will talk about that. But I want to impress you first. Please allow me to impress you, because that is the most important thing. Everything else is, yes, it's bit by bit. But if I don't impress you with this, it's like beating about the bush, forever beating about the bush. It's like, what is going to be a subject of our studies? Like, you go to the university, for instance, and you enroll, like, okay, we are different ages, different stages of life here. Some of us, it's in the past. But you pick a course, and everyone is like, eager to know what are we going to be learning there, right? Isn't that fair? Mm-hmm. What are we going to be doing, right? So that when you get a diploma, right? So like, that's what we are going to be doing. We're going to simply recognize who we are. That's the top. This is the end of the pyramid. Whatever is the platform, this is where the culmination of the knowledge is, simply to realize who I have always been. Because even, guess what, in that whatever wretched state, I've imagined myself, I have never been anything other than my own self. In other words, I have never left my lionesshood. My lionhood was always intact. The supreme identity have never left me and cannot, by definition, it cannot leave me. But somehow I got succumbed to this, whatever that happened, Maybe I'm not who I am. Everything else is going to be half measures. Because the very intent here is that what breaks the chuckles. That's what really, that's the definition. By definition, the awakening is that. The chuckles are broken. I'm free out, walking out of that cave. Until that happens, you cannot. You are chained and you're standing, and all you have is reflected, 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 reflected. Only shadows on the wall. Watching the drama of life unfolding in front of your eyes. It's the birthright. You see, the birthright. A primal responsibility as consciousness, as conscious beings. Of course, the story will always be dear. There are dear moments in the story. And we will talk about that, maybe not tonight. Of course, story will always be precious. How can it not be? But when the story eclipses who we really are, do you hear me or not? It's like, wait a minute. The core of my identity is being now replaced by a story character. And I lament because the story part meant to lament, right? And I identify with every, twist and turn. That's what we're talking about. Keep your story. Nobody taking it away from you. Nobody says, I'm not the teacher who says, hell with the story. Cut the story down, no story anymore. No. Story has its validity. Individuality has to be ripe, has to mature. But why to walk around with that false identity? Mistaken identity. It is for that reason there were these great sayings, Mahavakyas, in Advaita Vedanta. Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, precisely that, reaffirmation. I am consciousness, I am totality. Instead of I am so and so, above all else, I am that. I am. After that, who cares, whatever. Whatever you prefer in a moment. Mama, gardener, papa, shop assistant, a university professor, driver, siesta in a hammock. Whatever. But the primal identity has to be there at all times. Hence, I am that I am. Aham Brahmasmi. By the way, the term aham, that Sanskrit term, aham, literally means I am. Aham is that. Aham, I am. So aham Brahmasmi, that uttering, is literally I am totality. Brahmasmi here means I am totality. Brahman stands for totality. Brahman stands for absolute. Aham Brahmasmi. Or if you are Tantrika, Shivoham. Shivoham. I am Shiva. Shiva is the most ancient, archetypal symbol that stands for omniscience of the Absolute. It predates any existing religions that came and gone. If some of you are interested, like this is a little footnote, what is this Tantra and what is this, Shaivism. I say Kashmir Shaivism, but Kashmir Shaivism wasn't just like invented in Kashmir Valley. Scholars and historians apparently have found the confirmation that there were already this carved, out of stone plates, and whatever they call them, like architectural pieces that predate Indian civilization. It goes back to the Harappan civilization, which was destroyed by the Aryans who came down from the north. Aryans who brought the Vedas, so to speak, so that's the story goes. But the point is that it existed, that Shaivism, Shiva, is the most ancient religion that has ever came. It predates absolutely any other religion, predates Zoroastrianism by thousands of years. The roots of the Indo-Iranian civilizations that came later. And already that was known. Shivoham, that's my primal identity. Shivoham. I am that I am, if you prefer English language. That's your homework. Before you go to sleep, at least tell yourself truth. Tell yourself what really is happening. Remind yourself who you truly are. And that helps to come out, and the story recedes. Story is taken for what it is. No actor of merit, of talent, of genius, right, does his or her job on a stage just for money, just for living. They must love their job, they must love their work, no? They must love their work, right? Otherwise, how can they go on stage and perform? That's what I've heard about actors anyway. Tell me if I'm wrong. All of us are good actors. That's what I'm trying to say. All of us are good actors, good pretenders, acting our part very well. But there are times you come out of stage, no? Right? Come down. Are you still going on in that Shakespearean dialect, like, oh, Desdemona, like, okay, let's go have supper. No, but though you are, how shall... No, it's just time to relax now, to be who we are. That's what it means. It's literally that. It's to be who we are. It's natural. It's spontaneous.
I think it's also just, you get tired of playing that role.
Of course, it's nauseating.
You just like, well, it's that, but it's also, there's something in you that says, this is not who you are. And so there's a party that says, it's not enough anymore, it's not who I am.
There is a saying, ad infinitum, right, in Latin. And there's another saying, et nauseum.
Yeah.
At some point, it's like literally, it's like I cannot do it anymore.
Yeah.
We can't pretend otherwise.
Yeah, you can't pretend anymore.
We cannot pretend anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. So no matter how gripping is the story, right? No matter how gripping is the story, let's not forget our essential nature. Let's not forget who we are, even while in the midst of the most dramatic action. Even in the midst of the dramatic play. This is also when the Maya becomes the Lila, that play of consciousness. Life itself becomes much more playful affair. Because we are no longer chained. So when we are no longer chained, right, there are many options. Can turn that way, can turn this way, and don't have to only behold the reflective shadows, right? That's the glory of consciousness reveals itself precisely because the intent was followed. It's subtle, it works like that. Otherwise, all this talk would be of no use. We agitate consciousness, you see, agitate something here.